You've submitted your secondaries, and after months of grinding through the med school application process, you can finally breathe a sigh of relief. But then a few weeks go by with no word from the schools you applied to, and you start to worry. You find yourself wondering, did they toss my application onto the reject pile? Why are other people at my school and on Reddit and SDN getting invites, but I'm not? Has all my work been for nothing? Do you know the feeling? Well, you're not the only one. Each year, med school applicants grow increasingly nervous as the weeks crawl by between the fall and spring. So when is the appropriate time to start worrying about interview invitations? We've learned from assisting students for over 20 years that if you're already worrying and we tell you there's no need to worry yet, you're not going to stop worrying. So what we're going to do instead in this video is answer several of the questions we commonly get from applicants checking their email inboxes multiple times a day in hopes of finding an interview invitation. We'll dispel a few common misconceptions, and then we'll provide you with strategies for boosting your chances of admission while you're playing the waiting game. Before we get started, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can be the first to see our new resources with all the latest updates and guidance on med school admissions. With so much uncertainty surrounding medical school interview invitations, applicants often compare themselves to other applicants in hopes of predicting whether they should expect to hear from a given school. Applicants often say to us, someone I know or someone on an online forum got an invite from X med school. If I haven't heard back yet, does that mean I'll be rejected? It's common to start worrying when other applicants get responses from med schools before you do, but that's just how the rolling admissions process works. Some websites out there will even claim to know exactly how many interview invitations a school will send out and what percentage of those interview spots have already been filled. But the reality is those numbers are pure conjecture based on the limited amount of self-reported applicant data. There's no way of knowing exactly how many interview invites a school will send out or how many have been sent out already. Try not to jump to conclusions based on so little information. It's very easy to fall into the trap of so-and-so had higher or lower stats than me. They had such and such extracurriculars in comparison to me, and they got an interview, so that must mean I'm in trouble. You might find yourself wondering, if I could boost my MCAT by just a few points, would that tip the scales in my favor? Should I have volunteered another 100 hours before submitting my application? Or my friend had 2 publications and they already started receiving invites. Maybe I'm not getting interviews because I only have 1 publication. Comparing your stats and qualifications to that of other applicants or going down the rabbit hole of what you could have done just isn't productive. You'd be better off just focusing on keeping up with your academic and extracurricular work so that if you do receive interview invitations further down the line, you'll have some interesting updates to share with your interviewers. If a medical school rejects you, they'll let you know. Otherwise, you'll just need to wait out the application cycle until the end of spring. Interviews can come in at any point, really. If you need a refresher on rolling admissions and how the different stages of the admission cycle are structured, check out our video on the ideal med school application timeline at the link on the screen. Another one of the common questions we receive from students anxiously awaiting interview invitations is, I received an invitation from a high-ranked school but got rejected from a lower-ranked one. Is this unusual? To put the answer simply, no. If you got rejected from a lower ranked school, don't start coming to conclusions about how you'll fare with higher ranked schools. And similarly, if you got an interview invite from a higher ranked school, don't automatically expect to get invites from all the lower ranked schools you apply to. There are way too many factors involved in the holistic admissions process for things to be that predictable. We'll never know exactly what conversations went on behind closed doors during your application evaluation at a given school, so there's no use making assumptions based on a program's rank. Besides, while med school rankings can be somewhat helpful in determining which programs offer the highest quality of education, they're anything but objective. Rankings can fluctuate quite a bit from one year to the next, and as of fall 2024, US News and World Report has abandoned their numerical school ranking list altogether in favor of a more general tier ranking system. It would be nice if we could predict outcomes that easily, but that's just not how the holistic admissions process works. Even if you tried to plot the data for all interview outcomes across all applicants, you still wouldn't be able to definitively predict who will get an interview and who won't from a given school. That's why it's important to cast a wide net to schools where you're competitive based on your stats and fit. Another common question we receive is, if I was put on hold for an interview at X school, is that their gentle way of rejecting me? This is a common misconception, but if a medical school had already decided to reject you, they just reject you. If you're on hold, you can think of it as a wait list. In recent years, medical schools have increasingly used the hold system to give them time to interview top applicants before moving on to invite additional applicants throughout the year. This way, they don't have to respond to hundreds of individual emails from applicants requesting an update on the status of their application. It can be frustrating to feel like your application is stuck in limbo, but it isn't necessarily a soft rejection, so don't give up hope just yet. So, now that we've established that med school interview season requires a lot of patience, you might be asking yourself, but is there anything else I should be doing while I wait? We like how you think. And we know how tough it can be to stop the inertia of application season. After months of nonstop work between your academics, extracurriculars, MCAT prep, primary applications, secondary essays, it might feel strange to stop for a breather. You might feel the need to keep pushing yourself, even when you've done everything you can possibly do. At this point, it's okay to simply wait for a bit. But if you've been placed on hold, or if 6 to 8 weeks have passed since you submitted your secondaries without receiving any word from a medical school, and you have meaningful updates to share, you should consider sending out letters of interest. It won't automatically secure you an interview. However, it can go a long way towards showing a medical school that they're still at the forefront of your mind and you didn't forget about them the moment you submitted your application. In addition to reiterating your sincere interest in their school and perhaps even mentioning some of their specific programs or opportunities that you're interested in but didn't have the chance to fit into any of your essays, you should also provide any updates about significant changes, accomplishments, or developments in your life since submitting your application. These might include things like significantly boosting your MCAT score, securing a new medicine-related internship or job opportunity, or winning an impressive award. You can check out our in-depth resources on update letters by clicking the link on screen now. After sending letters of interest, you can also use this waiting period to submit a few more applications by adapting the secondary essays you've already written. And even before you receive any interview invitations, it's never too early to start polishing your interview skills and practicing how to effectively communicate your experiences and skills. Get familiar with commonly asked questions, which you can access in our med school interview question bank, and then replicate the interview environment as closely as you can. Set a timer, record yourself so you can improve your ability to concisely communicate your responses on the spot rather than just scripting and memorizing them. And finally, make sure to keep on top of your extracurricular and academic work. Just because you've submitted your applications, that doesn't mean you should let off the gas too much. That way, if you do get invited to interview, you'll have interesting and impressive updates to share with your interviewers about the work you've been doing since submitting your application. Or if you don't end up getting an interview invite, you'll still have lots of meaningful work to show for this period of time, which will reflect well on you when you reapply in a future application cycle. If you're stuck in the metaphorical waiting room for medical school interviews while you watch other applicants start to receive their invites, resist the urge to jump to conclusions. Remember that a number of difficult to quantify factors play into an AdCom's decision about who to invite for interviews, and the timing of when invitations are sent out can also be highly unpredictable. So sit tight, send out some letters of interest when appropriate, keep up your academic and extracurricular work, and start preemptively polishing your interview skills by visiting our med school interview question bank, where you can browse hundreds of sample responses to the most common traditional interview and MMI questions. Best of luck.